Diana is currently the highest win rate jungle champion in the game, and it's not even close. With a massive win rate across all ranks, Diana has quietly become a sleeper OP jungler, and it's all thanks to a new build that transformed her into an unkillable red boss. Instead of just building full AP like before, Diana now runs a build that makes her incredibly tanky while still dishing out a ton of damage. This means she can dive, survive, and carry fights like never before. In this guide, I'll show you exactly how to abuse this build, from the best runes, items, and jungle clear, to how you should be playing teamfights to maximize your impact. If you want to climb fast in Season 15, Diana jungle might be your free ticket to LP, so let's get started. Diana is an extended fight monster, and her runes are all about maximizing her damage, sustain, and attack speed scaling. First up, we take Conqueror. Diana's passive already encourages long fights, and Conqueror stacks up insanely fast thanks to her low cooldown abilities and auto resets. It gives her the healing and AP she needs to win duels and sustain in fights. Triumph because it heals on takedowns, letting you dive deep and survive. Legend Alacrity because attack speed is crucial for Diana. More autos means faster passive procs and better DPS. Last Stand, since Diana loves diving, you're often fighting at low HP. Last Stand makes sure you deal more damage before you go down, or better yet, turn fights around. For secondary, we go Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight. Magical Footwear because free boots equals more gold. For early power spikes, Diana doesn't need early boots since she full clears anyway. Cosmic Insight for more summoner spells and item cooldown reduction, which is great for flash engages and Zonia plays. For shards, we take attack speed, adaptive force and scaling HP, simple and effective. This rune page makes Diana a scaling powerhouse, letting her clear fast, fight well, and carry late game teamfights. Now let's get into the best build to abuse this setup. Diana's current OP build revolves around becoming a tanky drain machine while still melting everything in her path. The key synergy comes from Liandry's Torment and Riftmaker, which stack damage over time, healing, and HP scaling to make Diana a nightmare to deal with. First item is Liandry's Torment. This item is insane on Diana because it gives her sustained damage and percent HP burn, which stacks perfectly with Riftmaker. Plus the build path is smooth since Haunting Guise is one of the most cost efficient items early on. Second item, you'll go Riftmaker. It grants Omnivamp more HP and it provides you with bonus AP based on your bonus HP, which makes this Diana build even stronger. For boots, tanky options: Mercury's Thread against CC and AP heavy teams, Plated Steel Caps against AD threats and auto attackers. Third item is Unending Despair. This item is a game changer for Diana. It gives armor and magic resist, plus a ton of HP, which synergizes perfectly with Riftmaker's passive. On top of that, it heals you when diving into fights, making it the perfect bruiser item for Diana's all-in play style. Zonia's Hourglass is the best fourth item. It lets you dive in, delete carries, and survive fights. You'll still deal crazy damage over time, thanks to Liandry's Burn and Riftmaker's Omnivamp while staying alive. At this point you can either go full tank or get more damage depending on the game. More tankiness for extra resistances or HP heavy items if needed. The hidden OP pick, Bloodletter's Curse. This item is seriously underrated. It also builds from Haunting Guise, gives more tankiness, and even reduces enemy MR over time, letting you shred even tanks in extended fights. With this setup, Diana is unkillable, deals insane damage, and heals a ton in fights. Now let's talk about how to abuse her jungle clear to hit these power spikes as fast as possible. Diana has one of the fastest full clears in the game, which lets her hit level 4 by 330 and contest early objectives before most junglers are even ready to fight. To optimize Diana's farm and tempo, you want to start on Braces instead of red buff. Here is the best perfect clear order and why it works. Braces into Krugs into red buff. This synchronizes Vraces and Krug respawn timers while keeping red buff up longer for fights. Wolves into Gromp into blue buff then. This does the same for Wolves and Gromp while keeping blue buff for the next play. Scuttle Crab into looking for ganks. If there is no gank, reset and power farm again to hit level 6 as soon as possible. Why is this clear that efficient? It maximizes respawn efficiency. You can keep key camps in synchronized for perfect uptime. It keeps your buffs active longer. Red and blue last well into the next play, making fights stronger. It's the fastest way to level 6. Diana's power spike is massive at 6, so the faster you get there, the better. If no gank is available after Scuttle, don't force it. Reset, buy your components, look for Haunting Guy's Rush, and full clear again to hit level 6. You should be right on grub spawn after second full clear at 6 minutes. Diana's mid game is all about balancing farming with fighting. She's an absolute monster if you play around her power spikes, but you can't just mindlessly force fights. You need to farm efficiently while looking for the right moments to engage. So key priorities in mid games are: number 1, keep up your farm. Diana scales hard with items, so you don't need to fall behind by forcing bad plays. Number 2, fight when you hit power spikes. You are strongest after Liandry's plus Riftmaker, and even more after Unending Despair. Number 3, look for grouped fights. Diana excels in 2v2, 3v3s, and teamfights. Her AoE damage and sustain let her turn fights in your favor. Number 4, play around objectives. Always try to be in position for dragons and Rift Herald. Diana's burst plus sustain lets her take these fights easily. How to fight in mid game. Diana's engage is extremely strong, but don't just press R randomly. Wait for the right moment to hit multiple targets. If your team has CC, let them start fight, then follow up with E plus R for a devastating engage. If your team lacks CC, look for flanks or side lane fights where you can 1v1 or 1v2 before full team fights start. Always play extended fights. With Riftmaker plus Unending Despair, Diana thrives in fights that last longer than just a quick burst. Biggest mistakes to avoid: forcing fights too early, wait for items, don't fight for no reason, ignoring farm. Your late game depends on items, don't waste time roaming for no play, engaging alone. Diana is strong, but she's not invincible. Pick smart fights, don't die 1v5. Once you hit 3 or 4 items, Diana becomes a late game raid boss. She's tanky, deals insane AoE damage, and heals a ton in fights. How to play late game fights. Look for multi-man ultimates. Moonfall is one of the most game-changing abilities in the game. Wait for the right moment to hit as many enemies as possible. Be patient with engages. If you go in too early, you'll get bursted. Let your team start the fight, then dive in when enemies use key cooldowns. Extended fights are your best friend. Thanks to Riftmaker plus Unending Despair, Diana out-sustains most champions if fights last long enough. Peel or dive, adapt to the game. If your carries are getting deleted, play more defensive. If enemy carries are exposed, dive them hard. Now the biggest win condition. If you land a big R in a late game fight, the fight is usually over instantly. That's how you carry games as Diana. Look for that moment and go all in. Before we wrap up, let's talk about some upcoming changes to Diana in the next patch. While she is getting a slight nerf to her jungle clear speed, it's not a huge deal and won't impact this guide much. The big takeaway is that she is getting a buff to her Q and W based damages, which will make her even stronger in mid-game fights. So don't worry, Diana is still going to be amazing. That's the full guide on Diana jungle. If you play her correctly, you'll dominate games with insane sustain, burst and tankiness. Try this build, abuse her insane win rate and climb fast. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more guides.